This is the 2025 Hyundai Ioniq 5. There are some changes for this year and a new trim level, but best of all, you now have access to the Tesla charging network, which is a big plus. There's also a rear wiper blade added, some new technology, more safety, and it's still a blast to drive. There's a lot of pluses to this car that people don't think about when you're looking at an electric vehicle, and the Ioniq 5 is the second best-selling electric car. Number one being the Tesla brand, number two is the Hyundai brand. And one of the things that they left for this year is some of the things that people like about this car. This really cool futuristic look, having that pixelated look not just in the headlights, but also on details like the taillights. And you'll also see that in the XRT trim, which we're going to show you in just a second. Some of the things that are new for this year start with the wheels. All of the Ioniq 5s ride on 19-inch wheels, except for the XRT. We're going to show you that in a minute. I love this new styling, very aerodynamic, lots of lines, and you're going to notice that same pattern also running in the wheel arches. There are 4 different trim levels, and they come rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, except for the XRT, which only comes in all-wheel drive. The trim levels are SE, SEL Limited, which is our test vehicle, and that XRT. All-wheel drive is really great because we were just test driving this vehicle up into the mountains where there was snow and a lot of rain. You get a lot of confidence with this H-Track all-wheel drive, especially if you live in cold climates. There are 3 new colors available, a white matte and 2 different gray colors that are also in matte. Remember, if you do purchase a matte colored paint, I highly suggest you get paint protection on that, and that means a coating that actually goes over the paint, because what you naturally want to do is when you see a stain is you want to rub it, and then you have a shiny spot, totally against what matte color is about. So remember, there is some maintenance involved in that color, although it looks really cool. New for 2025 is restyling of the front and rear bumpers, wider sections here of silver, black roof rails, and black trim all the way around the window frames. I do like that the door latches go flat when the vehicle is locked, and when, of course, you come to open it, it notices you're there because of that proximity key, and the door will open for you. Really easy to use and really nice looking vehicle overall. This vehicle does have a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, and that covers not just the vehicle, but also the battery, which is really important when you own these vehicles for a long period of time. Coming around to the back, your brake light is up here. And I'm gonna say this, I'm really thrilled that they added a wiper blade in the back, but they should have tucked it up underneath, because these wiper blades take terrible abuse, not just from the sun, ice scrapers, and just regular debris. Maybe in the next update, they'll take this wiper blade and tuck it up underneath. That'd be really nice. There is proximity key, so when you come to the vehicle, it will open for you, or you can press the button. 26.3 cubic feet of storage in the back. It's slightly smaller than that of its competitors. We'll talk about competitors in the end, so stay with us. We'll also talk about the prices, because they really did not up the price, and they've added a lot more value, and of course, more safety. And there's your pixelated taillights. That is quite iconic of the Ioniq 5 and Ioniq 6 lineup. When it comes to the performance of this vehicle, it's really about range and not about power. There's around 300 miles of range on the rear-wheel drive. You can get the standard range of 220 miles of range. That's around 240 horsepower, just to give you an idea. Or go to the all-wheel drive, where you're going to get 280 miles of range, which is more than the previous generation. Standard range has 63 kilowatt-hour battery. The long range will have an 84 kilowatt-hour battery. The charging is an 800-volt architecture, which means you're going to get very fast charging, not just at home, but also on a fast charger or public charging. And don't forget that Tesla charging is available, as well as vehicle to load. So if you're sitting in your car and you'd like to charge your iPad, your laptop, you can also do that through the charging cable, which is included. So we're inside the Limited, which is the top of the line for the new Ioniq 5. And there are some changes. One of the things I do like in this vehicle is right away you're going to see there's a rear wiper blade, which we talked about on the exterior, but it's very helpful because it's raining here in Palm Springs. I know it doesn't rain here very often, but this is really cold and really rainy. It's a good thing I brought my jacket from Buffalo, because it's like 30 degrees out, which means we have snow, we have black ice. So we're not going to be able to test the full performance capabilities, but we're going to see how this handles because it's all-wheel drive. You're going to get the all-wheel drive capabilities, which is a safer way to go. Rear-wheel drive, if you don't live in cold climates, is perfectly fine. What you do lose is a little bit of range. Now, one of the things you'll notice right away when you get in this vehicle is 2 12.3-inch screens. They used to be a little smaller. They're a little bigger. It's more driver-focused. And talk to people who own these cars. What do you want? And one of the things they wanted was more buttons for the things that were more common to use. So one of the things you'll notice right away is the volume button is an actual volume dial, and the tuning is, and your favorites are here. No more of that confusion of the flipping of the screens, which I don't know, I didn't have a problem with it. I am riding with Al Vasquez, by the way. You can just see him out of the corner here.
I did have a problem. I didn't like it.
You didn't like it?
No, I hated it.
I thought it was confusing at first, but then I think it's one of those things you just get used to, like any car. You know, the more you drive it, the more you go, okay, I can deal with that. But all the climate controls here, easy to use, very nice. They took out some of the features that were harder to access, like the heated and vented seats, as well as a heated steering wheel, and put this in what they're now calling the floating island console. And it actually does, it's like comes right up. So I'm currently charging my cell phone. There's 2 cup holders to the right, and then further back is your heated 3-stage, ventilated 3-stage, as well as your heated steering wheel. And that plus some of the other features that you might want to have access to, like cameras, which I'm super impressed with the cameras on this. It's funny, you get some of these cars and you turn on the backup camera and it was like shot on a potato.
1980s.
It's terrible. And like, how am I supposed to see? Yes, you can do it. But Hyundai's been really good about their technology. They were at the Consumer Electronics Show this year. They're really about top of the line quality when it comes to technology. I like that you can spin the car around. You've got rear cross traffic alert. And by the way, as far as safety, this is an IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus, which means you've got top safety on this vehicle, which means you don't have to worry about it because you're getting forward collision warning and active cruise control. My favorite of all things is when you put on your turn signal and you get the cameras that are part of the gauges. I think that is super genius. Hyundai and their luxury line Genesis offer it, and Kia, the sister company. But the fact is, no one else offers that. Why is no one else offering that? I don't understand.
And it's great.
It is great. It's great. I have a lot of friends that have purchased these cars specifically because of the safety and the cameras that are in the turn signals. When you put on your turn signal, see it turns. It's cool. I know I'm not turning anywhere. We're on these super curvy roads way up into the mountains in Palm Springs. But I don't see a difference in handling, and we're going to drive the XRT version next, and that's an off-roadable Ioniq 5. So if you're going to a campsite and whatever you want to do off-road, whether you're going to a site, you're building a house, or you're going to a camping or soccer or whatever, you'll be able to do that. And that vehicle, as we said on the exterior, is slightly different. But one of the big pluses for this vehicle is more range, more performance. But I think the biggest one is the Tesla charging. It gives you, another 17,000 chargers available to you? That's a lot. And if you're charging at home, it takes a long time. Now, for those people that are saying, well, I'm going to go home charging, Hyundai's offering you a couple options. You can take the $400 credit for public charging, or they'll give you a charger that you can use at home. It's an option. If you've got fast charging available to you in your area, where I live, we have Tesla chargers. We have no other fast charging. So this is good for me because it comes with a cord, so I can charge anywhere. I do not own this vehicle. This belongs to Hyundai, obviously. But I think they've done a really nice job with that. And as far as improvements to the vehicle, lots of little details that I think are really important, like moving the wireless charging pad next to the cup holders so it's easier to access rather than down below, having that rear wiper blade. But overall, the vehicle itself is fantastic. Head-up display. I mean, there's everything you'd want as far as technology and safety and comfort. Well, the seats are very interesting. Let's take a closer look. Getting into the vehicle, there is 8-way power front driver's seat, 6-way on the passenger. But this seat does a full recline, so while you're charging, if you wish to stay in the vehicle, maybe you want to nap, maybe you want to work, you can recline this vehicle. And there's also a footrest that comes up right here. Because if you're relaxing, you can only do this obviously when the vehicle is in park. And off we go. These full relaxation seats are much like a lazy boy recliner. You can take a nap because it only takes about 20 minutes on a fast charger to get you up to 80% charge. On a Tesla charger, it's going to run around 30 minutes. If it's longer, well, that would be on your level 2 charger you have at your home. You just plug the car in and disappear, go into your house or do whatever it is. When you do plug it in, what's really nice is it says the vehicle is charging. You'll see that charging information here on the dash in front of you. Also note there is a new steering wheel. It is flat bottomed. I really like this gray steering wheel, and I love the white interior. Although if you have children, you might want to look at another color. It may not make sense in that particular case. Overall, this vehicle is really super comfortable. You got to put that footrest down before you take off. But it's 6-way power on the passenger side. Heated and ventilated seats. This is a leatherette material. It is not leather, it is plastic, essentially. However, they do not offer a leather interior. Let's take a look at the second row seating. Getting into the second row is really nice. You've got a full glass panoramic roof, which I like. Recycled materials here on the back of the seats, as well as nets. And then you've got 2 USB-C charge ports here on the back of this floating center console, but there's also tons in front. There's 2 underneath the island, as they call it, where the charging pad is. There are 2 up front as well. They really thought about people wanting to charge because this vehicle seats 5 people. Put this armrest down, you've got built-in cup holders, child safety seats on the outboard seating, and if people are in the back seat, especially here in beautiful Palm Springs, California, you've got a net so that you can hide some of that sun, especially if you got a baby sleeping. Vents are also in the B-pillars of the door. This is Bose audio throughout. Really nice. It also has noise canceling. So if you're on the roadway and it gets loud or you want to have a conversation, it's quite quiet in this cabin, or you can turn up the tunes. So now that we've shown you what's new with this vehicle for 2025, I'd like to show you the XRT trim level. That's the one that's off-roadable. This is the one that they really want to showcase because it shows the capabilities of this vehicle, because this is actually one of the best-selling electric cars on the market, by the way. A lot of people think it's Tesla. Well, Tesla may be number 1, but this is number 2. So that's a huge statement for Hyundai, and they've won a ton of awards with World Car of the Year, which Al and I are both World Car of the Year jurors, as well as North American Car and Truck of the Year jurors. So we've driven all the trim levels.
All of it.
Yeah, and it's actually some pretty nice product. I'm a huge fan personally of the Genesis lineup, but the Hyundai lineup is excellent. And if you don't want the luxury, you don't want to pay for the luxury, the Ioniq 5 and the 6, I like the 5 better personally, but I really like what they've been doing with this car. It's kind of unique looking, but I like it. And usually, you know, you look at some of these cars and you go, eh, but you know what? This is really nicely done, nice details. And the colors, new exterior colors, new interior colors, I do like these materials. It's a little on the hard side. Does that make a difference? Probably not. But light interiors for me are great, unless you've got little kids. Then I would say go with the darker colors. The XRT rides on a unique black 18-inch wheel wrapped in 235 60R18 all-terrain tires. The XRT is only offered in dual-motor all-wheel drive form with a long-range battery. It does have terrain modes. That button is right below the airbag on the steering wheel. That is snow, mud, and sand modes, plus of course the other drive modes you would typically have. Safety features are the same. The seating does include the XRT embossed logo. Technology inside, as far as the inside of the car, is the same. You get the around view camera, the same charging ports. Everything else is exactly the same on the inside. When it comes to the outside, there are some differences. All Hyundai Ioniq 5s are built in the state of Georgia, so they are US made. This does have really good traction. It's obviously designed for this, and having the H-Track all-wheel drive as standard makes a difference. Some of the potholes are good for that approach and departure angle. You can really see that it was designed for this type of surface. Obviously, you're not going to be rock crawling with this, but tell you what, if you're going to use it for light off-roading, go to your campsite, this would be a good example of a vehicle you could use. Let's take a closer look at the XRT. XRT stands for Extreme Rugged Terrain. Now, this is not really rugged terrain, and you're not going to go rock crawling with this, but this vehicle does have some very cool features if you decide to do some light off-roading like we are. First thing you're going to notice in the front is a more rugged front end. And yes, these tow hooks are good for about 5,800 pounds, so they are functional. They're not just there for looks, and they look cool. You also notice in the front end, you've got that pixelation here all the way across the front. That's part of the look. Now, come around to the side, you're going to see some other changes. The approach angle on this vehicle is different than that of a regular Ioniq 5, because when you're going into ruts, you don't want to take out the front end. So they've made it slightly angled up. Also, you'll notice this camo, this pixelation, is also in the wheel arches. Instead of what you saw on the regular Ioniq with those little like slash marks, this is all this camo. It's a pixelation. 18-inch wheels with more rugged all-season tires, but this is a much more rugged tire. It's more of a mud and snow type tire, and this is good if you're going to be going to a campsite or whatever off-road use you might have. Coming along to the side, you're going to see that same black all the way across, but you're going to see black all along the bottom of this, as well as roof rails that are black. Coming around to the back, you're gonna see that same thing, but the departure angle coming out of those ruts. Again, different angle here, more black across the back. That's part of what makes this XRT more useful for off-road. But there's one change on the inside I want to show you. Actually, there's two. They're kind of neat. We call them Easter eggs in our business. That means a little something that you may not notice otherwise. Number one, XRT on these leatherette seats. Also, here on the door, XRT. Other than that, these vehicles are pretty much the same, other than the terrain mode button right here. When you press this button, you get snow, mud, or sand. And since we're on sand, we're gonna do it in sand. And every time you hit the button, these 4 dots, that's the letter H in Braille, and it changes color. So when you do color for snow, it's more lighter. Mud, it turns orange. And it's yellow for sand. Try to get the colors of the materials. Same is true with sport mode, it's red. Every time you press the different drive modes, regular drive modes are here, which is gonna be normal, sport, my drive, and eco. The colors change. We're gonna go back to the sand mode so we don't find ourselves in trouble because we have to get out of this thing. This XRT is very cool. It's not the most expensive in the lineup. That would be the Limited, which we test drove, but I really like this. I think they did a nice job. There's not gonna be a high take rate on this, but if you want something you can take and have some fun with, this might be a blast. Let's take a look at some of the competitors and my pros and cons. There are quite a few competitors in this category: the Ford Mach-E, the Kia EV6, as well as the Chevy Blazer EV, the Honda Prologue, and of course the Tesla Model Y. But there are some pros and cons, and I only found one con, so we'll hit the pros first. Real comfortable seating, nice ride, nice improvements in the technology. Things are easy to use. Buttons are right there. The center console is really nice. Your cup holders, your wireless charging. They really thought about every single thing that you would use, and they listened to their customers, which is really important. On the negative side, well, cargo space is a little less than that of the competitors, and I kind of wish they'd take that rear wiper blade and tuck it up underneath that wing just for maintenance for down the road. Now let's talk about the pricing. The SE starts at $42,500, the SEL at $49,500. The Limited, our test vehicle, the way I would personally buy it, is $54,200. And if you're looking at that XRT and you're going to do some light off-roading, because that's really what it's designed for, you're starting at $55,400, but that is the coolest looking of the Ioniq 5s that are out there. If you have any additional questions that I did not cover on the Ioniq 5, put that down in the comments below. Let's start the conversation. If you'd like to support our channel, you can buy me a cup of coffee. All the details are down in the description. And of course, if you got value from this video, please like and subscribe, share it with your friends. Thanks so much for your time. I'm Lauren Fix.